All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. I am BMillzebub, and for tonight's Apostate interview, you know her, you love her, the Lavender Lady. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, how you doing, sweetness? We're getting there slow but sure. Just trying to take every day as it comes. How be you?
Uh, little agitated by the new YouTube thing, but thankfully,
Mm,
thankfully they left an option for Creator Studio Classic, which is something I actually understand. Um,
yeah,
Yeah,
as,
it's going to be a learning curve, and as we all know, those are just fantastic for everyone.
I ran into that unfortunately when I was setting up my other channel, my cooking channel. I was gonna post my lentil soup, and it gave me this Creator Studio beta, and it was like, what the hell is this? And I had to look around quite a bit until I found out that, yeah, there was a link to take you back to the original view, the classic view, because I was all over that in a big hurry.
Oh
But
yeah,
I suppose that someday I'm going to have to learn the new one because I take it they don't have it so it can simply hang there. They're going to force us to use it eventually.
yeah, probably, but I don't know. We can complain about YouTube's unintuitive user interface for all this later on.
Yeah.
Um, this is your interview. So
Yay!
why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about your channel?
Well, I am the Lavender Lady, and as in homage to Nutjaw Witness, I do Lavender Lady things. I started out doing response videos, and I know I haven't done a response video in a few weeks. I definitely need to get back to them. So those of you who liked them, please don't give up. I've got a few planned. I've got maybe about 40 videos, 40 videos that I want to respond to at one point or another, in my usual call and response manner of a what's the word for it, response video. And I started with Catholic answers of all things. We're doing a whole Catholic thing here today, I guess. And Yeah, one of the responses, I actually called into Catholic Answers a few weeks ago and spoke to one of their main apologists. He got me extremely annoyed, annoyed enough that I think I want to answer him. And then, of course, some of the other things I do. I have my coffee with lavender on Sundays, noon Eastern, an hour with somebody from the community. I've interviewed Neil, the 604 atheist. Let's see, last week I interviewed um, I interviewed BBA, um, Bible Belt Atheist, because I was on his show later that day, and I've talked to Faye, I've talked to Luciano, and I've got a number of people lined up for the near future. Hopefully, hopefully we'll have some interesting people to talk to, some interesting stories to hear. I want to keep everything interesting. That give people something they might not have known before. Just got to be something in there somewhere. And then, okay, I'd like to expand a little bit. We'll see what we can do as far as that goes. See how much life I have left in me to to work on new things on the channel. So we'll see what happens there.
All right.
Yay.
So why don't we move on to the religion you used to be a part of? What is it you used to follow?
I am an ex-Catholic. I was a Roman Catholic.
Oh, hey, twinsies.
Yeah. Um, in my early days. Now, I started my break rather early. I think I was a preteen by the time the cracks started forming. So I was effectively out of the Catholic Church by 1975 or so. But no, I was unfortunately raised in that environment, and yeah, it was very, very imposing is the word. I don't know. There's got to be a good word for the way they treated us. Um, it definitely to me seemed cultish with the way they tried as hard as they could to control everything we did, everything we thought. Um, but and some of the strange shit they tried to get us to believe. I remember one of the penguins. No one ever referred to penguins. I'm referring to the nuns, the sisters, and
Okay.
their old habits were the black and white things that made them look like an emperor penguin. And they were going up and down during the classes about, yeah, people will tell you that the cracker turns into flesh and blood. You know, the cracker turning into flesh and blood is just symbolic. No, 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 no. It's real. It actually happens. I was sitting there in a class saying, yeah, sure it does, sister. You could test it up one side and down the other. You could subject it to every physical and chemical test you could ever think of, and it'll turn up bread and wine. But it really is flesh and blood. Yeah, you wouldn't make a very good chemist now, would you? Um,
Well, shit, the Pope's a chemist and he thinks it's a real thing.
yeah, the Pope is a few things. I'm not very happy with him at all. I'm probably going off on a tangent from the original thing we were talking about here, but the
It's all
way
right.
he's been, the way he's been dealing with us, with trans folk, with gay, lesbian folk. One day he says everything's fine, and the next day we're the next best thing to nuclear warheads. It's like, goddamn Frankie, will you make up your mind? At least be consistent. Because I think I hate you and what you say more when you are inconsistent than I would were you consistently saying that we are the spawn of Satan, saying the way Ken Ham does. Um, it's just that extra waffling in there that really drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah, that's something else. Yeah. So here's something actually. If you caught my breakdown of the Vatican Sex Abuse Summit recently, I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
remember the name of the bishop, but he finally admitted that the gay subculture in seminaries has nothing to do with the pedophilia issues going on. So,
Well, of course
what's your
not.
reaction to that?
Yeah, of course it has nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, I I'm trying to think of a good way to word my rationale here. I would expect more of a problem from the hetero clerics than I would from, say, a gay cleric. And I know it's kind of a nebulous thing where I'm saying that the gay person might be on best behavior, that sort of thing. Just the way illegal immigrants are here in the U.S. They commit fewer crimes than anybody else does because they want to be on their best behavior. Um, now the problem, one of the problems, is that whole celibacy issue. With
Yeah.
it's an unnatural thing. They talk about masturbation is unnatural, or gay sex is unnatural. Come on, what's the unnatural shit you're doing, guys? Um, based on some nebulous thing that Paul wrote. And to my understanding, it took them a few centuries to get around to that. So they've really got no place to talk about anything when it comes to unnatural things, and they've got a lot to shoulder when it comes. Um, the institution has a lot to shoulder when it comes to the sex abuse and everything else. Yeah, did you notice recently the cardinal who
Cardinal Pell.
the other one? Yeah, I know about. I cannot remember the one who resigned his commission as a cardinal within the last week or so.
I must have missed that one.
And I'm trying to remember. No, he is not in a prison, if I remember correctly. This guy is just doing his penance, a life of prayer and reflection, as Frankie would put it. Now, I am so overjoyed with Pell that he is actually in a damn cell.
Is he actually, though? I thought he was sentenced to house arrest or something like that.
Was he? Because I thought I
think
read an
so.
article where he was in a facility. What do they call it? I'm going to have to look this up. You know that, right? Because I
Yeah.
don't want to be all full of shit here.
Yeah, I mean, we can figure it out later on. But you know, you mentioned
Well, here we
the
go.
correct. Yeah.
From SF Gate. Let me bring the article up. Just don't screw me over here. Australian Cardinal Pell to spend his first night in prison. This is Dateline 28 February at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. It begins with the most senior Catholic cleric ever convicted of child sex abuse was sent to prison on Wednesday and will wait 2 weeks to learn his sentence for molesting 2 choir boys in a Melbourne cathedral 2 decades ago. So, yeah, it's a sort of a holding facility that I remember. Sort of a basically what they're doing is keeping him away from general population and under observation and stuff like that. I remember this from another article. So he's spending, if I read this correctly, he's spending like 23 hours a day in solitary. Yeah, if he's going to remain in prison, that would be so nice. I mean, it's little justice, but it is some.
Yeah.
Because there are so many who have got away with so much, and just the way the organization protected them from justice.
Oh yeah.
The organization itself needs to be dressed down. Needs to be disassembled. Hang on a second while I clear my throat.
Right.
And then I'm trying to find the watch page here so I can look at the side chat while we're at it, but I'm not getting anywhere because you're not showing up on my subscriptions for some reason.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
Oh, but Mark Caesar said, "What is it? He's not in solitary. He has God to talk to."
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see how much he likes that, huh?
Yeah, it's it'll drive him up a wall eventually. You know, talking to someone who doesn't talk back or exist will probably get boring quick.
Yeah, really, really quickly. Oh, I think I know what I can do. Have you tweeted out the watch page on this for people to watch this?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll find it on there. Okay. I wanna know what everybody's saying in the side chat if they've got anything to ask me or anything. And wait a minute, I'm not seeing it. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Starting soon. This is 24 minutes ago.
Yep.
Is that the right one?
That's the one.
Okay, fine. Okay, we can do this. Yay. All right. Hi, kids. Hi, everybody. Here we are. Hi, Snarky. Hi, Insects Are Cool. Adriana. Artie. Hi, how are you? Mark. And I see Casey, hashtag heathen. And come on, we got to have more people watching in here. I only see 9, and I'm one of them. And
So,
Bub, are you another one?
yep. So there's
Oh
really
my,
7
oh my,
people
oh my.
watching.
We have to. Oh, okay. Now it's down to 8. Oh, come on, people here. Jeez, and then there are 8 watching, and there's only 1 like. Give me a break, guys. Come on, hit that button, will ya? I mean, Bub needs all the likes he can get. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, the other night, GI did say that. Last night, GI said that I am criminally undersubbed. So
Yes, you are.
if the
I'd
straw
say
man is saying it,
you and I are at about the same level. So yeah, you're definitely criminally undersubbed, and well, I guess that means I am too. But this is your show, so I'll promote you. Actually, I think I have a couple more than you do. That's criminal. Uh, oh, okay, Adriana. Bug Lady works. That's fine. We can do that.
so you mentioned when you were pretty young that the cracks had started forming. So
Yes.
what was it that started cracking the foundation?
I'd say the first thing was for those of you who are familiar with the Catholics, we had what were called CCD classes, Confraternity of Christian Doctrine. It was basically Sunday school for older kids. Where you had, the doctrine shoved at you and everything else. There was one of those classes where the instructor was talking about euthanasia. Now, one of the things I always wondered, why would Catholics have been so worried about kids in China or in Siberia or in Mongolia? And I just don't do it as well as Bionic Dance does, do I? Anyway, on the subject of euthanasia, he laid out a scenario of some older gentleman, terminal illness, extreme pain, begging for the release of death, to put it mildly. Up and down he went, pointing to each of the kids. What would you do? What would you do? And of course, they're all towing the Catholic line that euthanasia is a horrible thing, and not only let him live, but make sure he continues to live. It comes to me, and the first thing out of my mouth was, well, I really don't want him suffering so terribly. And this instructor just screamed at me, but it's God's will. And I looked at him, and a tear might have been forming in my eye. I'm not sure. And the thought that went through my head is, what kind of God are you worshiping? If it's your God's will to make this particular person that you're describing suffer horribly, what is the fucking point? Now, I didn't say this to him. Of course not. I would have been slapped up one side and down the other, and then it would have been all over again once I got back home. But that really, really started me thinking. I mean, the things about the transubstantiation and stuff were when I was younger, but it wasn't as profound as that day as what this person was implying his God was like. And I think let me think, I might have been 11 or so years old at the time. And I think pretty much after that, the only reason I stuck around was because I was still under the slimy bastard's roof. And it wouldn't have gone so well had I told them, hey, I'm an atheist. But it wasn't very long after I was out from under their clutches that I was using the A word, and yeah, definitely, I don't believe any of this shit. Which, I mean, I'd had a little time to look into things after that, and yeah, I found more and more to not believe, not find credible. Um, so yeah, within a couple of years, it was over. It was done. Um, Wait a minute, what do we got here going? Oh, okay, you're talking about something else snarky. You're right about the audible discharge.
Yeah, that's a reference to the other night, where I completely lost control of the live stream after my Vatican Sex Abuse Summit video.
Oh
I have no
man,
control over you people.
sounds like movie night. Oh, oh man,
Uh,
Mark Caesar. It's funny how people change their opinion when it's personal. A family member suffering horribly and begging for death would make people think different. Yes, in some respects, I think it would. At least the more rational, the more empathetic of the people. I can think of a few people who would not change their minds even in those situations. The FSB, the female slimy bastard, would be one of them. Um, she had not an ounce of empathy in her entire psyche. And the world is a much better place without her in it. But yeah, a lot of people would think differently. How many people have changed their minds about us queer people when it was a daughter or a son who turned up queer? Now again, the slimy bastards, dropped me, but there are others who actually took the time to rethink and said, "Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be thinking the way I've been thinking." And I laud those people. Faye, hi.
yeah, so here's a curiosity.
Hmm.
Do you think it was the religion that beat the empathy out of your parents, or do you think they were just like that?
Wow.
Because see,
I'm
the religion beat the empathy out of me pretty good when I was younger. It's been a
okay.
process of reacquisition with empathy in me
It's
since.
difficult for me to say. I'm tempted to say that it is just or was just them. They're both dead now. Um, but there may have been some of the religion going on as they were growing up that shaped them that way, and they just never saw the other side of it, never turn around. Um, they grew up during the 20s and 30s in a very xenophobic, in a terminally Catholic environment. They were both of Eastern European Catholic families. His family was Slovak, hers was Polish. Um, and religion did figure heavily in both families. For all I know, they may have got the whole religion thing when they were kids, and they turned out to be the way they were, and they never got better. Um, I suppose I could try to give them the benefit of the doubt with that. It's difficult for me to tell. It really is. Um, okay. I just saw. Yeah, I when I saw Faye saying, "Look at that perfectly behaved Sylvia." The first thought in my head was, "What the hell is she doing now?" But
uh,
she's sitting
being
on
a
the bed
well-behaved little floof.
for once.
Hashtag praise floof,
Oh,
by the way.
alrighty. Hey, Alias. Hi. How you doing? Uh, yeah, this is one of those rare moments when I'm not, when I'm the interviewee. Uh,
Kind of an unnatural position for you.
it's a nice vacation, let me tell you. Because yeah, if we could go off on a little bit of a tangent, it's It's work. It's fun. I love it, but it is work trying to come up with topics and ways to keep an interview going. Um, so many times on air, it's like, oh my word, I've run myself out of questions. Now what do I do? And it's scrambling to find the next thing to keep the conversations going because you're only 12 minutes in, on a 1 hour show.
I mean, I have a cheat sheet, so
I need to do that
I'll
more.
admit to cheating.
Oh, I need to do the cheat sheet more than I do. And the other thing I've got to get better at is the way Carson did when he was doing his show, writing things down as you talk. Points come up, and then you come back to those points. For example, were I interviewing you, you might say something that's, hey, that's an interesting thing. Let me ask him about that later. And I'm writing. Because if you watched The Tonight Show way back when, Carson was never without his pad and pencil. And what he was doing was writing things down to come back to them.
Yeah, this is a little bit before my time.
Oh, I don't know.
And I was born in '86, and didn't Carson? Well,
he retired, I think, in what, 92, 94, something like that?
I still would have been real little.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, not real little, but still. Young enough to not care. Let's put it that way.
No, Mark, this is definitely not my first time behind the sponge. As a matter of fact, I was interviewed a few times before I did any interviewing. I started my channel, let's see, about January or so of 2018. Well, unofficially, I started it back in December of 2017. But I'd been going a couple of months before I did a live stream. I was on a couple of live streams, but I had not run one until maybe April or so. So yeah, there were people interviewing me. I remember, well, I think the first person who ever interviewed me was Don Michaud. If you guys remember Another Freaking Atheist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was fun to actually be interviewed and then have an 8-hour after show when the whole thing was over. God, the way he used to do those. He used to do it pretty much every night. 8-hour after shows. And there was the one day he did the 24-hour thing because the 8-hour show was about to end and we were all on him. Let's do some more. Let's do some more. Sort of like Alvin and the Chipmunks. Hey, Dave, let's do it again. Let's do it again. So he did a second 8-hour thing that was entitled, Why Am I Doing This? And then he did a third one. So he was on freaking air for a full 24 hours. We got to drop off and take breaks, but not Don. He was on there all damn day.
Machine.
But I understand that things are going really well for him, and that's a really good thing. I'm happy about that. I haven't had a chance to talk to him lately, but good for you.
I haven't talked to him in quite a while, but I used to enjoy streaming with them occasionally.
Do you remember the after show with the picture of the guy wearing nothing but an AR-15 and a Colt sidearm?
I don't.
That was a whole bunch of fun. Why I did this, I'm not exactly sure. I looked at my Twitter feed, and the first thing that showed up was from Stone Cold. He had posted this picture with the guy had an AR-15 across his chest and hanging down to cover the naughty bits, and then there was a 45 sidearm at his hip. And I'm saying, oh, no, my poor eyes. And everybody's saying, what's going on here? So I put the darn thing up. And everybody was giggling or throwing up, or I think we got Nadine Callan to do a continuous giggle for about 20 minutes. We were doing some really strange things. Oh, okay. So now Sylvia's not exactly, well, I guess she's kind of behaving, but she's just cleaning up over there. And God, if I could do that, I wouldn't leave the house.
Something literally every teenage boy has said. I'm not sure about teenage girls because, you know.
Well, remember, I was a teenage boy.
That's true. That's very true.
As a matter of fact, back to the Catholic thing, I was an altar boy for a few years, and I was never molested. You know, I kind of felt left out. You know, wait a minute, what about me, man? Am I not nice enough? Oh, yeah, I was a little bit, had things been different, I might have been one of those hardcore Catholics these days. But I just got lucky. The way just a couple of things worked out, the CCD class, a couple other things, it turned me around toward reason. And I'm so happy about that.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about your channel a little bit more. What is it that got you starting to make videos and do interviews?
I had been wanting for years to start a channel. Ever since I saw stuff R and Raw was putting out back in the 2000 aughts, 2005, 2006, when I first started discovering the community, it was like I'd really like to do that. I just never had the cash to get the equipment, which was still kind of expensive at the time, to get a camera, to get a decent audio setup. Would have set you back more than I had at the time. But then my most recent move, well, no, let's go a little further before that. I got started on NCG Studios. Some of you may remember me turning up there. Dr. Jones had me on his show, say from about early 2017, around April and that sort of thing. And I got accustomed to being on air. And by that time, a headset was $40 or something like that. It wasn't that expensive. The camera wasn't all that expensive. It's less than $100 if I remember correctly. And I was thinking, okay, now I've got some equipment. I wouldn't mind doing something. It's just a matter of getting the space and getting the setup going. Then I had to move. Then I had to come here. And when I came here, it was so much nicer than it was in the other apartment. I had a little bit more space to work with. It was a little better set up. And I said, and especially I had a kitchen. And I had always had that dream of doing a cooking show. And I said, I got to do something now. So the first thing I started was my cooking show, the Transgendered Chef. And right on the heels of that, we had a discussion on one of the NCG Studios programs about burden of proof. And there were a few thoughts that I had that didn't make it to air during that discussion. That I thought, okay, I think I'm going to make a video about it. And that was my first Vox Rationis, my first voice of reason. And I decided, hey, I like this. This really works. I like it's great. So I just started looking around for videos that other people had made. I decided I would start with the response videos and the call and response, the way everybody does. And Catholic Answers turned up really quickly. And it's like, okay, with these people doing what they were doing, one of the shows was on God's will, where one of the Catholic Answers apologists was defending the will of God in a woman and her son were destitute, living in their car on the street. And, you know, she was praying to her God, why is this? Why are you letting this happen to me and everything? And the apologist was defending the role of his God in this. And I was like, no, this can't be. I've got to answer that. And then there was another one, Are Atheists Open-Minded, about the kind of evidence that we would accept. And the Catholic Answers apologist was going on about, yeah, any evidence we give them, they will not accept. And I'm like, look, guy, you're not giving us any evidence. And we're telling you that what you're giving us is not evidence. That's what we're not accepting. And there was a response to that video from some guy, some person out there in the ether. Nobody's ever heard of him. Somebody called Johnny Drive-By. His answer was, this is great, darling. Love this, and I hope you do more. And as it turned out, I got on one of his after shows, and I got to meet a whole bunch of people in the community. I think that was about March of last year. I met Matt there. Of course, I got to know Johnny again. I got to meet Snarky. There were a few other people I ran into. I forget how many, but that's what got started. That's what got me started here in the community. And were it not for that, I would not have been part of the community. I don't think I would have been. I was just doing my thing by myself, an occasional video. But I want to thank all of you guys for dragging me in, and for making me a part of all this. Because it's you guys that really got me thinking and really got me wanting to do more. And here in the twilight of my years, I just want to keep doing more until it's finally all over.
Yeah, I mean, if not for Godless Iowan initially finding me on YouTube, I would definitely not be a part of the community and would probably have about 200 fewer subscribers right now.
Yeah.
I wish I could say that's a joke, but it's quite literally not. But
I may have had fewer than a dozen people subscribe to me when I appeared on Johnny's after show, and then with the people that were on that after show with me and promoting me and getting my name out there. That got things going. It really did. I think I went from maybe 10 to like 50, 60 just in a couple of weeks. I thank every one of you for subscribing and for watching what I put out. That's the amazing thing. I still can't get used to, I guess, what seems to be the fact that there are people out there who are interested in what I have to say. I never thought of myself that way, I just thought of myself as a bloviating on whatever it was, and everybody, okay, yeah, just let her, spout her mouth off in the corner over there, and we'll ignore her. But for whatever reason, you folks actually want to see what I have. Thank you. Thank you extremely many much. And, for you folks, I've got to do more, and I've got to keep it coming.
Oh, I'm happy to have you on here.
Well, Snarky, I don't know about awesome. I'll take great. I'm still working my way up to awesome.
See, I can be a bit arrogant and egotistical, so I'm going to say that I'm pretty solidly awesome. But
it's really weird. I mean, when I was young, let's go back to 8, 9, 10 years old. I would fantasize about being in the driver's seat on a public presentation, say a television show or a radio broadcast or something like that, where people would regularly tune in to me and, you know, see what I had to present or hear what I had to say. And then that just sort of toned down as I became older. I thought of that less and less. But now it seems like a little bit of that childhood dream is coming to fruition. And I don't know, it's kind of nice, really. It's a lot of responsibility, too, though. The one thing I try to never forget is that when somebody wants to listen to you, it's your job to say something that makes sense, that's compassionate, empathetic, um, realistic. You don't want to be an Alex Jones just up
Oh
there,
no,
you
no,
know,
no,
for
no,
the
no, no.
ratings. You really want to try to provide something that's worthwhile, and I hope I do that. I really want to do that. I hope that I hope when it's all done and all that's left is my legacy, I hope that people can look at that fondly, at least those who remembered me. And I guess maybe if that's the case, I'll have done a good job.
I don't think we're going to be able to forget you, Diana.
Well, you know, this is a thing. I mean, I tell a lot of people, it's crazy. Um, Everybody knows me. It's weird. I can go shopping at Target, and I will hear over my shoulder, "Hey, I know you," and I'm looking. Where have I seen you before? And it turns out that this person may have seen me at the counter protest against the Westboro Baptist Church or whatever that occurred here a couple of years ago. And they were just another face in the crowd. I never noticed it, but for somehow they remembered me. And it's, what is this? Am I one of those people you'd really like to forget but just can't?
Damn. Well, but yeah, let's talk about your channel a little bit more.
Oh boy.
Is there anything on it that you're particularly proud of, like a video or a series of videos?
Mm. Okay, I'm thinking at this. I'm thinking that probably a couple of my favorite videos are the responses I made to the preachers and the apologists about their hatred of LGBT folk. Um, and the couple of them that I'm thinking of was especially their hatred of trans folk. And I felt I had to say something. You know, being a trans woman as I am, you know, it's just like I've got to speak up. And maybe it wasn't the most polished because it was early in my career, if you want to call it a career. But I think that it might be some of my best work. I really had to get out there and make the statement that, you know, you guys, one of them was John MacArthur. Um, what is it, the Grace Ministries or something in California. And then another one was one of the Catholic Answers apologists, a guy by the name of Jimmy Aiken. And you two guys, you've really got to shape it up here because we are people, we are real, we are just as valid as you are. And I need that. You're not going to hear me, but other people who are listening in really need to hear this. And I guess the generally good response to those. So I'm going to have to say that, yeah, those probably my best work, and I am proud of them. Perhaps inordinately, but it's just I've got to do more like that. I do have this dream, inflated as it may be. I don't know. I'd really like to make a difference, and I guess what I've got to do is just, well, after this latest setback here, I'm finally getting things together. I still have my down days, but I have a limited time left, and I want to make it worth it. So maybe this is how I can do it.
Yeah, every little bit counts, you know, and you're out there, you know, I can't imagine, you know, fighting on as many fronts as you. You're trying to normalize atheism and, you know, get people to pull their heads out of their asses when it comes to thinking about us. You're fighting to normalize the way people think about the LGBT community and trans people in particular. Yeah, I'm. It's a lot of work you're doing, you know.
I suppose that one of these days I'm going to have to do the one thing I've been wanting to do and get some of the trans folk in the community together. And those of you who are listening, hold me to this, will you? And get a show or a series together where we queer, trans, atheists make our voices known. I have a couple people in mind that I'd like to talk to. And, well, one of them, Brooke, is in school right now, and I know she's really busy, but would like to have her voice as part of this. And a couple of the new people that I've encountered. One, I'm trying to remember her name, a girl in Hungary. To see if we couldn't do something on show and get that together. And like I say, okay, maybe it sounds like I'm patting myself on the back, but if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out with a bang.
Do it right.
Oh my word! Hi, Beach. Aw. She says, "You've made a difference to me. I only hung around the place for you." And it's like, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, hon. Seriously. Um, I'm amazed at the number of people who have told me anyway that the only reason they were going out to the place was because I was there. Um, I would. I sometimes wonder. Maybe it's a little bit. What's the word I'm looking for? Boastful of me or something. I wonder how the place is doing now. Now that I'm not there anymore. Unfortunately, we had a bit of an argument back in September, and I ended up leaving. And some of you remember that show. Um, I'm going to say that I learned a lot from Dr. Jones. I really did. Not all of it was flowery. Um, but the various things I did learn, I carry with me here onto my channel, onto my show. And hopefully that makes it better. He even taught me a little bit about how, looking at the New Testament. I mean, he spent a whole lot of time on Ephesians 8. I think an inordinate amount of time on that. But, I mean, he had a sort of an iconoclastic view. So I picked up a little bit from there. So, Dr. Jones, if you're listening, thank you. I'm sorry that we're not cut out to work together, but we're not. We really aren't. We're from two different pieces of cloth, and you've got your job to do. I've got mine. I'll do my job as best I can and leave you to yours. How's that sound?
Oh, hashtag Heathen wants to know who Dr. Jones is.
Okay, Dr. Michael W. Jones is a I won't call him. Well, I don't know. I suppose I could call him a bit of a pastor. What he's got going down in Pensacola may be considered a congregation. Um, but the way I discovered him was through a YouTube channel of his where he had shows. One of them is called The Place, and then there were a couple others, um, the names of which escape me at this point, um, where he would look at the Christian books and have an interpretation of them that was not at all the interpretation of the people in his neighborhood. As I say, he's in Pensacola, Florida. As a matter of fact, he's on the opposite side of town to Eric Hovind. Uh, Dr. Jones is on the west side of Pensacola, and Hovind is on the east side near the airport. And the way I discovered Dr. Jones was Aaron Ra had been on his shows a few times, and Silverman had been on his shows. And I was looking for their stuff, and I came across Dr. Jones. And it looked interesting, so I kept tuning in. And eventually I did a response video to one of Dr. Jones' shows. It was a sort of informal response video, and he actually asked me onto the program, and it ended up where I worked with them on a regular basis. I was a regular with them for about a year and a half. Wait a minute, but Morley, you'll have to get me on the DRP. I can't remember what that stands for.
It's his show.
It's something podcast or something.
Yeah, I can't remember. I was on it. I should remember it. Sorry, dude.
I do remember, Snarky, the time he invited Faye on. I think that was the end. I think that was finally the camel that broke the straw's back. Because everything Faye had to say to him rang true with me. Because Faye let him know that he was not treating me very well and everything, and I had been trying to just take it in stride and deal with it as best I could. But when Faye was saying this, it was, yeah, I guess she's right, and what am I doing here? And yeah, she was, and he was. Thank you, Faye. Thank you extremely. Well, thank all of you. My word, that show, and unfortunately, this is how he kind of Donald Trumped the whole thing, because no sooner was that show over, but he pulled it off the queue. That show is not on the catalog to be watched. And that's very unfortunate. Because it turned into a major argument, and Jones was very surprised at one point when I actually told him, look, I don't necessarily agree with everything you have to say. He's like, what? You don't? And it's like, no, I'm my own person, for fuck's sake. And the craziest thing is he's had McCrae on a couple of times since then, and I sent a note to Steve. Yeah, I leave and you come on. Great.
Well, I think we've got enough time left for one more question. So,
yay!
What is the most difficult thing for you to have gotten over from your old religion, like the fear of hell?
Oh man, I think the thing I'm still dealing with, because I got it not only from religion, but I got it from the slimy bastards, is they both pounded into me how I am a terrible person simply for existing. one said I'm sinful. The other said, I was a little prick. And I carry that with me even now, that I'll never be good enough, that I'll never be worth anything. And yeah, religion was a big part of that. It's strange. I've given up a lot of it. I've got over a lot of it. I'm not afraid of hell. In a way, I almost wish hell would exist because I'd get to go there and see all my friends. And I'm over the wishing for something better after I'm dead. That whole heaven thing. But it's that, yeah, you're broken, you're sinful, you're evil. It's that I'm still fighting with. And I don't know that I'll ever be completely over it.
I mean, it is
But I can
something
try.
difficult to get over. I mean, being told that you're worthless and broken, my self-worth was pretty non-existent when I was a Catholic because of that. So I see where you're coming from.
Trying to think of, I had it in my head and then it slipped out. Well, here's the thing. When you get old, the memory is the second thing to go, and I forget what the first is. But well, PhD giggles. That's the one. I'm speaking of Georgia Purdom. Paulogia likes to call PhD giggles, and she was holding her child in her arms and saying, "My child is broken and sinful and evil." I mean, that's the sort of thing that really burns me up. I mean, she's holding the kid right there. Yeah, you're evil. And I was like, what the fuck kind of parent are you to even intimate that that's what your kid is? But that's the worst of it, I guess. That if the religionists, or at least the Christians, don't make you feel broken, then you have no need for them. In order for Christianity to be relevant, you've got to be broken. Yeah. So they make sure that, they pound that into your head.
All right. Well, as everyone knows, I like to start and end my interviews by asking my guests to plug their channel. So, Diana, would you tell us about your channel one more time?
Oh, yay. Okay, my channel is The Lavender Lady on YouTube since December 2017. I do the response videos. I'm trying to do more of them. I do the live streams, the interviews with much people. I'd like to see if I couldn't talk some of the bigger names into coming on with me. There are a couple of people I'd like to get on, mainly because I'd like to hear what they have to say. I've worked with Aaron Raw a couple times on NCG Studios. I'd love to have him on my program. Not simply for the views, but I'd really like to explore some of the things he's thinking about and talking about. I do the response videos, which I need to do more of. I do the live streams. I have some ideas about new things I'd like to do. I would like to have a fairly good channel going before I'm finally dead, and something that maybe people wouldn't mind watching because they think that there's good stuff to be seen there. I would hope anyway. And to that end, I've got a Patreon going, and I also have another side channel that I'm trying to resurrect. Yeah, we're going to do the Christian thing here, and after most of a year, I'm going to resurrect my channel from the dead. It's my cooking show called The Transgendered Chef. I just put up a recipe, lentil soup, that I filmed about a couple of weeks ago, and I'd like to see if I couldn't do more shows. You know, if you don't want to get into the really deep stuff, the really heavy stuff, the really philosophical stuff, you know, maybe see how to cook some dinner and some decent stuff there. Um, the only problem with my channel, The Transgender Chef, is I cook this stuff, then I've got to eat it, and I want to lose 50 pounds. So what am I doing eating all this stuff I cook when I'm trying to lose 50 pounds? Uh, it's one of the reasons I hadn't done anything for a long time, is because I've been trying to take the weight off. But we'll try to get both of them done. And Snarky, I see this. I may end up going to the local grocer this weekend. I hadn't thought of eggplant parmesan in a long time, and I love this stuff. So I might actually get around to the eggplant parmesan. There is another one that I do want to do before the final bell tolls. If any of you out in the side chat have ever heard of chicken paprikash, I definitely want to get that recipe done this year. It's a heart attack on wheels. Chicken, sour cream, paprika. The recipes that you find online for chicken paprikash to an entire chicken usually call for half a cup of sour cream. I say bullshit. 2 pounds. 2 pounds of sour cream
Jesus.
to this. Yeah. And this really wonderful sauce going. Okay, Casey, I'll try to describe it quickly. Basically, start with a chicken, cut it up into the pieces, get that sauteing in a pan with roughly coarsely chopped onions and a shitload of paprika. Just get that started, get that going in the pan. While that's going, you start to drop dumplings with the flour and the water and egg and baking powder. And you've got the little pot of water going there, and you got the drop dumplings, and just putting them by the spoonful or by the knifeful into the water, and they boil up and get all nice and fluffy and everything. And then by the time you're done with the drop dumplings, your chicken is getting very near to done. So you pull that out of the pan, and there's the liquid left, that boiled off the chicken while you were sauteing it. And it is to that you add the 2 pounds of sour cream. Stir that up, get a nice sauce going, and then put the chicken pieces back in and let them finish cooking in there. And to serve this up, everybody's around your table. You put the plates out. You spoon some dumplings onto the plate, a piece of chicken onto the dumplings. Start ladling sauce over the chicken and let them eat. And it will kill you, but you die happy. It's got to have something like a metric ton of cholesterol. But the way I tell my doctor, I was raised by honkies. We don't have blood in our veins. We have cholesterol. And the best thing about the chicken paprikash is when you've eaten all the chicken and you've made so many drop dumplings that there are still drop dumplings left, just the dumplings with the sauce is yummy and tasty. I mean, that'll do it for you. You can keep eating that stuff. Nobody I've served it to has complained yet, so it's got to be one of my better recipes. And it's a Slovak recipe. Well, it's Eastern European. The Hungarians do it, the Polacks do it, the Slovaks do it. My babka taught me how to make the stuff back when I was in single digits. I am so happy that my babka did what she did for me. She's the one who taught me to bake. She's the one who taught me to cook. She's the one who taught me to embroider. And remember now, that I was trying to do the boy thing at the time, and she's still doing this for me. So she was she was a better parent to me than her son and daughter-in-law ever were, and I really, really miss her. She died in 1986 at the age of 94. And every time I bake a batch of bread, it's in her honor. So thank you, Babka. Thank you very, very much. And then, yeah, I've done some of the ethnic cooking that I grew up with. One of my shows was a Slovak Easter menu, and then there was a Lenten menu that I did. If anybody knows what halushki is, and zapraszka. The halushki is fried cabbage, onions, and noodles. The zapraszka is a broth made from flour and water. Think about, you know how you make the gravy with the flour and butter and stuff like that. You know, you make the roux and then you start adding water and meat stuff until you get this gravy thing going. Well, leave out the meat stuff and keep adding water until it's a thin broth. And it doesn't taste like much, but this was what we had for Friday food. Because back in those days, you didn't eat meat on Fridays. You know, the Catholics didn't do that. So that was, you had halushki for dinner. You had other things like that you know, did not involve meat. So that kept on into Lent. Here in Pittsburgh, everybody, Catholic or no, knows what halushki is and usually loves it. The only thing about it is a head of cabbage will make enough for me to eat a week.
Jesus.
Oh, man. And I'm going to have to look for some more of the recipes that we had. Not everybody thinks that Slovak cooking is all that exciting, but I look back at it fondly, you know, because it's from my childhood.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll do it for this one. Thanks for coming on and doing an interview.
Well, thanks for putting up with me. Seriously, thanks for having me. Oh man, Casey's getting hungry. Oh, not sure what's on the menu tonight. Hey, come on over. I'll throw something together. Oh
right.
man. Okay. But thanks a million for having me here.
Oh yeah.
And it's been wonderful. And yeah, you're on my list, by the way. One of these Sundays, I want to get you on my Coffee with Lavender. So yeah, if I may say quickly, the coming Sunday at noon Eastern, Bad Tempered Badger is going to be with me, and
Awesome.
among other things, I think we'll talk a little bit about being British. So I just have to put the banner up in the upcoming shows because I haven't done that yet. Oh, a little far for a drive tonight, huh, Casey? Oh, darn it. Oh, well. I'll leave the light on for anybody who wants to come by. Sort of like, what was his name? Bodette with the Motel 6?
I'm not sure.
Tom Bodette, that was his name.
I don't know. But yeah, that'll do it for this one, everybody. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like. Head on down to the description box below and check out Diana's socials. I've got her Twitter, YouTube, and Patreon, so give those all a look.
Yay! Thanks for coming by, folks.
Yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.
And